So how I usually like to start these conversations is really about the journey. And I'm so glad we finally get to talk now that you are a lot further along in the journey. I remember right when Listen came out, and it was sort of one of the original social enterprises, but it was doing I think it really was a gold standard in sort of the impact model of having like a really, really high end product, both from like design and hardware, but then also in the back end, like the impact that happens. I thought it was like such an innovative approach and such a powerful company for other social impact brands to hopefully follow. So talk about the journey to start Listen and what was sort of the spark of inspiration to do it.
We started in 2012, which is pretty crazy. It's been 8 years. I can't believe it. Definitely the best 8 years of my life. But yeah, so my background is all in the music industry. I basically grew up in it, and I have worked in music since I was like, 14, 15 years old. So I was growing up in Michigan. I worked for anything from like a record store to like writing the reviews for like the local newspaper about music, working at a concert venue. So I did all of those kind of jobs, and then eventually I ended up at Universal Music Group, which is the biggest record label in the world. At the time, they had an office in Detroit, which obviously they no longer have. And when they shut that office down, I moved to LA to work for them here. So yeah, I had a great career in music. Worked with some of like the biggest artists in the world, which was an incredible experience, especially like in my teens and 20s. It was like such a great gig. But at the same time, it was like very corporate. And
Hmm.
I was definitely looking to do something else where I was like allowed to travel and like do other things outside of like an office.
Hmm.
And one day I was at work and I saw this video on YouTube of a woman hearing for the first time, and she was the same age as me. And it just really got me thinking about like how important music had been in my life, and like what I would be without it. Like I
Right.
don't think I would have ever like left Flint, Michigan area without music, without like that driving force. So I was trying to think of like, that's so cool. I wonder like how I can get involved with this. And at the time there was like all of these brands that had like just started coming out, like Tom's and Warby Parker and like the big,
Hmm.
social enterprise like starter brands. But there was nobody doing anything in music and nobody doing anything in electronics, which is funny because there's still nobody doing anything.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's just like not a philanthropy. I don't know. People in philanthropy just don't go there or something. I don't know why. But so I was like, why don't I start a company that gives back to people who have never heard before? And I had literally no idea what I was doing. And like, I thought headphones would be like a great way to give back to hearing, because then people could buy the headphones and we could give money to give hearing aid. And I honestly had no idea how competitive that space was. Like if I was to start it now, I probably would have never started it because
It's good to come in green, right? And a little
oh
ignorant
yeah,
to, yeah, yeah.
like if I would have walked into like CES or something now, like there's no way Listen would exist. There's not even a chance. But I'm glad that I did it. So yeah, when I had the idea, I basically talked to my friend Joe about it, who ended up becoming my business partner and co-founder. His background is all in like fashion, logistics. He had like a logistics company and ended up selling it because he wanted to do something that gave back. So it was like a really great timing wise, like just kind of a perfect fit of like me and Joe starting the company. So that was in 2012. And yeah, we've been working together ever since. It's funny because like our first intern, Zoya, is like still like our main employee. And
Wow.
like me, Joe, and Zoya have been there like the entire time for 8 years. It's just like a family now.
That's great. That's great. So Joe had logistics background was probably pretty important because you had to actually make headphones, right? And then you
Yeah, I
had to.
think for me, like I'm coming from like a marketing,
Hmm.
semi-sales background, but mostly like a marketing music background. And so I had no idea how to like create products and move them. I didn't know anything about like a warehouse and how that works and
Yeah.
everything.
How did you find, because Starkey Foundation is sort of the partner in all this. When a person buys a product, headphones or speakers, funds get allocated to them so a child or an adult can sort of hear again through us like procedures that the Starkey Foundation does, or sort of like, I guess they set up little facilities where people can get their ears sort of tested or wax taken out. Just, I guess, talk us through the Starkey Foundation and how that partnership came to be, because that's obviously they've been a really powerful force in everything Listen's been doing.
Absolutely. We could have never been here without them. They're incredible. So yeah, when I saw the video of the woman hearing for the first time, I just started doing some research, like who does this in the US and around the world. And they were by far the biggest, just like the biggest presence. Like they're best friends with like people like Richard Branson and Bill Clinton and George Bush. Like they're amazing. So I ended up contacting them and being like, hey, I'm going to start a company and I would love to give back to you. And then like nobody got back to me, of course, because they probably just thought I was crazy. But so we ended up partnering with a really small hearing aid, somebody that gives them away as well. But they, for like the first like couple months, and then somebody ended up reaching out from Starkey and's like, oh, we heard about you from, I don't know, I think we were on like the Today Show or something.
Right.
And so we actually got the partnership through like some media outlet that we were on. So ever since then, we've worked with them and we've given over like 35,000 people the gift of hearing, which is pretty amazing.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. And so just because I think it always goes back to sort of the power that we have as sort of consumers, right? And the ability to change somebody's life without really doing anything abnormal, right? You changing your lifestyle or anything. I mean, it's as simple as sort of buying headphones, buying something that we're going to use anyway is a task that we all do, right? We're going to do several times in our life, but like the ability to change someone's life through that is unlike anything we've ever really had before.
Yeah, and I think that around the time that we started, that was like the shift of that, because before, even like 15 years ago, it was more of like, oh, save the whales, and I'm going to buy some like ugly T-shirt that I'm never going to wear,
or like a bracelet, a beaded bracelet or something.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't anything like really interesting or like high end. And around the time that we started, like you saw like a massive shift to like just regular products that you would buy anyways. And that's what we really wanted to make. Like that's why we like are really crazy about our quality of products, is because we don't want it to be like a charity purchase. We want it to be like a purchase that you would make anyway. And then in addition, you get this like great feeling that you helped somebody hear.
I guess starting off, it's a bit of a whirlwind, right? Because you have to actually get the products made, and then you actually have to, find a way to like sell them, right? And then you have to still work with an impact partner, right? To make sure that, everything you say that you're doing is sort of getting done, right? So back like early on, what were the first couple, let's say first 6 months like? Was it fun? Was it like depressing? Was it everything you thought it would be? And like, did you quit your job to do it, or were you still working full time?
I think I spent about 6 months working on it before I quit my job. I quit my job on the very last week of 2012. So we had like gotten the samples back. We were like selling some online, but not anything crazy, like kind of just testing it out. And then at the beginning of 2013, I really started working like full time on it. So I would say it wasn't depressing at all, because I was so green at that time, and I was like just so excited to like do something on my own and like meet all these new people. Like I really grew up in the music industry, and I only knew people from that, which has been such a like blessing in my life. But also like meeting all of these other people that had ideas for businesses and were passionate about giving back. Like that was like just a really cool time in my life. And I was like, 26 or 27, and it was just like super fun. So I definitely wouldn't say it was depressing. I mean, we weren't paying ourselves, which,
right.
which sucks.
Yeah, I guess depressing was a bad word. I just meant like like stressful, right? Like just like,
it was definitely stressful, because it's like a huge learning curve,
Well,
never started anything, and then you're starting like business and trying to get like investors and trying to manufacture in another country.
when you told the record label you were leaving, did you tell them what you were what you were gonna go do? Did they like support you in any way? Like, hey, we have all these like artists with like big followings, like you
No.
want to make their no? It seems like a perfect partnership where they could like have invested in you and then have all their artists wear it. They could have had the Beats headphones. Like
Yeah, but the problem with that was that Universal was a huge shareholder in
in Beats.
because Beats
Yeah.
is Interscope is under Universal.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Dang
it's not
it.
really surprising.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So they would just like peace out. They didn't want
Yeah,
to have anything to do. Dang it. Well, that stinks.
it's all good.
As the brand started to build, right? You started to make sales, right? And things you're getting good press, right? You mentioned Today Show. I mean, you were everywhere, right? I think like Yahoo did something, and I think it was the Google commercial, and there was a lot of you've had some good sort of hits, right, from a press standpoint, and that sort of helped the company grow. And then you've released like since just the headphones, right? Now there's all kind of products, right? So like walk us through like the product line, like what's it like to keep expanding on the product line and not just stick with headphones? Was it something that you thought had to be done to keep the brand sort of fresh with new products, or were people asking for it?
I think it was both. People were asking for it, but it was also just, if you only have one product, there's only so far you can go with the customer. We have a lot of customers that are like just love the brand and they'll
Hmm.
buy anything that we put out, but it's sort of difficult to grow if you only have like one product because then you just have to like keep marketing that same one and
Yeah.
then we're like, I'm done. Like it's hard to, for example, it's hard to like send email blasts to like the same people about one product. Like they'll get pretty annoyed with that pretty quickly. So yeah, we started with headphones with a kind that we actually don't even make anymore, and then we had some like wood earbuds, and those were like a huge hit. Like we started doing subscription boxes with the wood earbuds, and we probably sold like I don't even know like crazy amounts of earbuds that way. And then we started making speakers, and I think that was around like 2014 or 2015. But yeah, now we have like two kinds of true wireless earbuds. We have the over ear, the Troubadour, which is like kind of our flagship product. We have a couple kinds of speakers, and then we just released our new soundbar through a partnership with QVC.
Hmm.
We actually just released that on Friday, so that's like our newest
And
product.
with the sales, is it still the same amount goes to like to the foundation? Like how does that part work when you have new products compared to headphones?
Yep, yeah, it's the same exact amount like every single time. We also do a ton of partnerships, which have contributed to Starkey Hearing Foundation in like pretty significantly. For example, like when we did the partnership with Delta, 100% of the proceeds went to Starkey. So in a lot of ways,
Wow.
like the partnerships that we've done has contributed just as much as like people buying headphones.
Wow. Yeah. That's so when you talk to to Starkey now, right? I think because you went to was it Mexico or some of the areas where they sort of actually do their work. What was that
Uh,
like?
I've been on, yeah, me and my team have probably been on like 20 some different places.
Wow.
So it's like literally like maybe, I think it's like 10 countries and 25 cities is what we've done with them. So we've like, when we say the number, like, 35,000 people, that's actually the number of people that physically like we've given hearing aids, like, and tested them and done everything. Like it's very, very hands-on. It's
Wow.
something where we're just like, oh yeah, we sent money and we'll never talk again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like going there? Like for the first time, I'm sure it had to be. I mean, that had to make you become more driven, right, and more inspired. Like actually physically seeing something that you've created, like change. I mean, hearing is such a profound thing, right? It's like I can't like I have the same relationship with music as you do, right? I mean, I can't imagine like living my
Yeah.
life without having music.
We went to Peru for the first time in August of 2013, and there was actually 10. It was still like to this day the biggest one we've ever done. We were there for 2 weeks, and we did 10,000 people.
Wow.
It was crazy. I mean, It's a lot of work. It's really insane. It's like an all day, all night type of thing for 2 weeks straight. And we were, all over the country. It was incredible. But yeah, like one of the first patients we had, it was like me and Joe, and we were just like kind of learning how to do it. It was this kid named Maria, and it was actually her 18th birthday that day, and her mom had like driven her like they took the bus for like 8 hours to get there, just so like she could have the chance to see if she could hear. And it's like that's just something we never really think about. And it's like it's the closest thing to a miracle like I've ever seen. It's like, this girl had never heard anything in her life, and then like literally 10 seconds later,
It's
she's
unbelievable.
hearing, and it's just you see their eyes, and they're just like, wow, like it's mind blowing.
Is it similar issues that these individuals face when they come? Is it a certain procedure, or like you said, is it just hearing aids, or is it different? Like what is sort of the scope of stuff that's being done?
So it's mostly hearing aids because 9 out of 10 people that can't hear can be helped that way.
Gotcha.
Are like depending on the region, like when we were in, I think it was like Uganda when we were doing that, there was a lot of body aids, which is like a super, super powerful version of that. But some of the kids there like really had really terrible like diseases or whatever, and so they had to use body aids. But yeah, most of the time it is just hearing aids because most people can be helped that way. And that's what's so crazy about it, is that nobody really talks about it, and it's like this, it's like the number one disability in the world, and there's like not a lot of people even discussing it, which is another reason why we wanted to do this in the first place, kind of bring light to it.
So maybe a new product line in 2025 is Listen Hearing Aids. Is what it sounds like, right? That's a good QVC market right there. You already know QVC.
Yeah, we might get some flack from Starkey on that, but you never know. Anything could happen. 2020, anything can happen.
How has the response? Because like being in LA, right? I mean, there's a lot of people there that have pretty big reach, right? And like, how's it been like? You like pitching people, right? Because to me, like, why wouldn't anybody want to be involved, right, in the brand and in the company? I know, like we said, you've had some big partnerships, from a B2B side. But how has it been like trying to get ambassadors, right, and influencers sort of on board?
It's been interesting, but I wouldn't say it's been like a slam dunk by any chance or any. I don't know. I think it's weird because everybody just kind of assumes that we're paying celebrities because of like the Beats of the world and whatnot.
Yeah.
We've never paid anybody to talk about it. And
Yeah.
Like it's funny, we were like on all of these like big football players in the UK, like the biggest ones.
Yeah.
And everybody, there was like all these newspapers talking about how we were paying them, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like we have like 3 people. We're not like paying Wayne Rooney like millions of dollars to wear our headphones. But we've had people like Demi Lovato, for example, like loves us, and she would post on Twitter, and then people would respond and be like, how much are they paying you? Like Kim Kardashian wrote like a whole blog about how much she loves us. And it's awesome because like normally like a brand would have to pay,
yeah, ridiculous.
But so celebrity response has been really good, but I would say like it honestly has not helped. It's weird. Like we don't like, even if someone like a Kim Kardashian like talks about us, like that's really not at the end of the day like our market. So it helps because it's cool and I love it, but it's not the people that are buying our products usually. So.
What do you think has worked well for? I mean, because now almost a decade, you kind of have a lot of good data, right? A lot of feedback. You know what's working and what's not. What's sort of? I think this plays well because you can kind of drop some, a little bit of knowledge or advice for individual out there wanting to start like a really impactful, social impact brand. What has worked for you?
So I think what's worked for us is that we've really stuck to like a few different pillars for our brand. Like we have a great product, like the sound quality is really good on everything that we make. The design has been really helpful as far as press goes. Like we do most of our press probably around, the design of it. the cause, which is the third pillar for sure. Like people love it, but they're not going to buy a product if it's just cause based, like we talked about. And then the fourth one is like the pricing. Like we keep the pricing underneath all of the bigger like competitive brands that are the same quality level as us. Like we're cheaper than like a Bose or a Beats or something like that. And even though it's like the same level of like product, in a lot of cases better than theirs, we try to keep the product lower. So there's like no reason for someone to not buy it. You know, like we take away all of the reasons why someone will be, oh, like maybe I don't want to buy it because it's more expensive or whatever. Like we take that away. We try to make it like as easy as possible to like switch.
Yeah, I think one big barrier that social impact brands maybe perhaps have is sort of access, right? It's that, can you walk into Walmart or Target or these stores or Best Buy, right, where people traditionally buy, electronics, right, or specifically headphones or sort of anything speaker related. It's really been, like you said, there hasn't really been any social impact like a headphone brand. So it's like they have to know you, right, and find you and go to your .com or .co to check out, right? What is the process like for like access? How do you get like listen into, Walmart or in Target and Best Buy? And like, is it just sort of, can you keep up with the demand, right? You probably have to have such a massive order you have to fulfill, right, to get like a Best Buy contract or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's been by far the biggest hurdle that we've had, is trying to navigate the wholesale retail world, which is honestly why we just don't really even do it anymore.
Right.
Like we're not opposed to it, but obviously 2020 is a little different too, with everything shut down for most of the year. But yeah, I mean, like we've had contracts from, someone like a Target or, we've had the meetings with Best Buy, but at the end of the day, like they expect you to pay a ton of money to be in, like you're paying for shelf space, and like, all of those displays like that, like a Bose or a Beats has or whatever
Right.
at the stores, like they're paying for that. Like it's not Target paying for that. We're not like a billion, we're not owned by Apple or by Sony or whatever. And like most of our competitors are. And so it's very hard. So that's why we kind of go into these avenues of, doing partnerships with different brands or with, just selling online or whatnot, because that's like where we can shine, and we just can't really compete on a retail level until, hopefully someday we will have a partner that is like helping us on that side of things.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to a little bit and starting out and raising money for, for startups just in general is a tough task, right? I mean, it's one of the most, probably the hardest thing you'll ever do really as a founder is sort of raising that first round. And especially from an impact brand, it's like, it's hard to talk to investors because they're like, oh wait, you're giving away some of your like profit. So your margins, like it gets lost in translation very quickly, right? When talking. So when you had the idea, right, you had this mission and this sort of, grand vision. How hard was it to talk to people to actually to get them to invest in your vision and idea?
Yeah, I would say one of my worst qualities in business is raising money. I am not good at it. And, I can put together like a great pitch deck and stuff like that. But like when it comes to like closing deals, like not good at it. But so it was pretty difficult for us. But at the end of the day, like we ended up getting a great group of investors that like helped us out, but it did take a long time. And it's something that I'm glad that we did once, but that I don't really look forward to. And even like when I start other brands in the future or whatever, like I honestly will just probably try to like do anything to avoid that process, because it takes away all of your time.
Yeah.
Like if I was going to go out and try to raise a round of money right now, like I wouldn't be able to even sell product at Listen. Right. So there's no, like you have to have like a full-time person do it basically.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to something you had mentioned before when you talk about quality, right, and sort of design, because it's such an important message, I think, to deliver to individuals. When starting something, it's people, I think we're past the phase of people buying things just because of a cause, right? There's a lot of competition out there, especially on the fashion side, right? When dealing with like impact brands and things like that, to where there needs to be, something more, right? And the quality and the design needs to be up par with like you said, I mean, the competition, right? So, Bose, Beats, or whoever you want to talk about, how difficult was it to get like the quality similar, right? Like it's you're still, right, you're a startup, right, with like no product. You're like, okay, I want to create something like Bose. That just doesn't happen like with a snap of the fingers, right? Like that had to be a bit of a process as well.
It's definitely a process, and we've spent quite a bit of time at our factories and with sound engineers there and dealing like. But honestly, I would say like we're pretty far from like the technical side of things. Like we literally will test things just by like listening to different songs. Like we don't have it like a super technical way of dealing with it. So we're like, oh, we like the way that this sounds, like let's go this direction versus like being, super scientific about it. But we've gotten lucky with a bunch of things, but at the same time, like it's really hard for a small company in electronics specifically because the volume of product. Like I bet Beats is probably paying like $8 or something crazy for their headphones to make, and like
Yeah.
ours are way more expensive than that to make. So like the margin of the bigger companies versus us is so different. So that's definitely a challenge, but at the same time, like I think that we've gotten lucky that one of the first people we met when I started the company is still our guy in China. Like, and we trust him, and he'll be like, oh, this new product, like I don't know, it doesn't sound very good. I don't think you should release it. So we don't. Like we're lucky to have like that person over there that like really helps with like bridge the gap between like us and in China.
Yeah, I mean, it's another sort of barrier with the electronic space because you can't really make it anywhere else. I mean, probably like Japan or South Korea or something. I'm sure there's some manufacturers over there, but as far as like North America or South America, I wouldn't imagine that there's even an opportunity to kind of make it this side of the ocean. So like when you were starting, like was that the only option? Did you guys fly over there and just kind of literally just hop from place to place, or did Joe have, from his logistics background, did he have a partner already in mind?
We definitely just flew there and visited different places. We had no idea. I mean, none. Like Joe had made a lot of stuff before, but I don't even think he was making anything in China. I think it was all like local or in different parts of the world. Yeah, I mean, even if you're going to try to make electronics in the US or somewhere else, it's not really possible. And if you were like, I'm going to assemble this headphone
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
US, you're literally just assembling parts that are from China. Like there's absolutely no way to do it
Yeah.
in the country.
Yeah,
So
if you look at Apple products, it has designed in California.
yeah,
Like
we
it.
design ours in California.
That's what you should do. There, you should take
Yeah.
a page out of the Apple playbook.
Yeah, it's really funny because I mean we have like 99% of a very positive fan base, but there are like every so often we'll get an email like I can't believe you make your headphones in China, and we're like, what are you typing this on? Like whatever you're
Right.
typing
No,
is
it's
also made in China.
100%. Yeah. No, yeah, it's tough to. The only other electronic company that I know in the world is Fairphone, who's really doing an amazing job. They are
Check
a
it out.
they're a leader in the. You should definitely check them out. I think that they are doing some unbelievable things in the space, and they're the only ones that I can think of that are actually making a competitive mobile phone device, right? I mean, it runs on Android still, but how they make the hardware is and sustainable, which is a first of its kind. It's really impressive.
That's
Yeah.
really
So looking a little bit the next 8 years, right? Let's say. I know that's hard to do right now,
it's hard
but
to even think about the next 8 weeks.
yeah. So let's look at like 3 years, right? Like you've had really big partnerships, right? We talked about Delta, Google. I mean, there's really been some good wins, right? I mean, for a company that's very small, right? Like that's impressive. 35,000 people lives have been changed literally, right? Like that is nothing. I mean, that is like insane. Like there's not a lot of companies in the world that could say that, right?
Absolutely.
So I think like how do you look at, let's say, 3 years, right? Like what are some goals it's from a business side, whether it's partnerships or whether it's a product line, whether it's stuff you see in the audio space that can be like improved. Like what are some of the goals and successes that you want Listen to have?
I think in the next 3 years, we'll definitely be looking for a partner to expand the brand. I think that in a lot of ways, like we've taken it pretty far, and we're still relatively small in the space just because we're competing with like the biggest companies in the
Yeah.
world. It would be really great if we could find a partner that would help us with distribution, like we talked about previously, like just to get into those places like a Target or a Best Buy, like post COVID world, that would be such a huge help for us to like try to even compete on that level. So like the goal really will be like expansion, and just trying to get in front of as many people as possible. I mean, like with an example of like a QVC, that's a completely different audience than what we're used to. So it was a really good experience for me and for us just to like get in front of that audience and see what they think and what they want. And like that's what we really want to do, is just to get in front of like as many people as possible, because it is a great product, it's a great story, and we've been around for long enough now that like people are actually starting to like know who we are. So if we could just expand that, that would be amazing. And as far as products go, I'm not really sure. It's hard in electronics. You don't really know what's coming next. Like
Hmm.
right now we're very focused on like the true wireless, which is like an AirPod, for example. Uh,
Hmm.
but luckily ours don't cost as much as that. And they're just, but yeah, we're super focused on the true wireless. Yeah, I don't really think that we'll have any like new products after that for probably a while. We're just constantly trying to improve like the products that we have. Like for example, like the Troubadour, we've had that for probably,
Hmm.
I don't know, 7 years now. But we're coming out with like the newer version of it. So it's the same design, but it's just like a better improved like Bluetooth and a more improved microphone. And obviously the microphones are super important for like times like these where everybody's just on Zoom all day. So
Hmm. Hmm.
we're very focused on the improving the quality of your work from home.
Yeah, hey, it's a new space to be in, and look, there's no, again, you have like some of the biggest competitors in the world, right? But then you also have like not a lot of competitors at all in sort of the impact space, right? And so that's a
Yeah,
way to separate yourself in the market, right? At a big scale, to where, why wouldn't a company just solely get this for all their employees, right? A lot of companies buy like iPads, right, or phones or whatever for like their companies. It's like, well, everybody needs headphones, right? But it's like, why wouldn't you buy Listen headphones for your company, right? Like that's an amazing thing to do. If you have like 1,000 employees, you just like changed 1,000 people's lives, right? Like it's pretty incredible.
thank you. Yeah, I mean we do a lot of like corporate gifting and whatnot, and that's been like a huge part of our growth as well, is like providing headphones for offices. And yeah, it was crazy though. Like with COVID, we had all these orders, like corporate orders that were like event based, and then they just all got.
Oh,
It's like like half of our business for the year was canceled in like a couple weeks. That was kind of a bummer.
yeah, there's so many ancillary like things you don't even think about. Like we all worry, like obviously restaurants, we can visually see like the impact, right, of that, right, and the disruption that has happened there, and hopefully we'll find a way to get through there, and a lot of these local restaurants and small businesses can survive it. But we don't see it from that point of view, right? Because the e-commerce stuff, or like you can't really, it's not the same. You can't see it with your own eyes of like the disruption that happens there, right? Because like you wake up and then, like you said, like your entire sort of business for the year is like changed like drastically, like overnight, right? Like that
Yeah.
that anxiety had to be pretty terrible, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
I mean, it sucks. We were supposed to do the Dubai Expo, which is like this huge event in Dubai every year. And we had like worked on it for months and months. And it was this massive opportunity. And I was going to go out there and do like, a little speaking thing and whatnot. And then it was just, overnight canceled. It's like something that we worked on for like 6 months.
How
So,
has it, have you seen sort of e-commerce do a little better at all with COVID, with everybody being home and people being on their computers, I guess maybe, more hours and searching for different things? Have you seen traffic improve at all, or sales improve at all?
I would say it has improved a little bit, but it's not like an overwhelming
Sure.
thing. I do feel like, someone like an Amazon, for example, is like just crushing it because everybody is just buying everything on there. But I don't know if like individual sites are doing as well as they should. Like I definitely feel like people are just buying everything like in one click on Target or Amazon or whatever online. I Yeah, I have a lot of friends in e-commerce, and a lot of them will say the same thing. Like it's improved a little bit, but it's not crazy. It's
Yeah.
not saving the amount of money uh, that you would have made like during other avenues. So it's an interesting time because we're just trying to think of like different ways to sell that isn't physical.
Are you still on Amazon?
We are, but we're not like it's so competitive on Amazon now. It's just like we would have to spend more than we would make
Yeah.
to be visible. So we're available on there, but I wouldn't say it was like a huge part of our business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something probably you had to learn along the way. Is I think a lot of brands have to make that decision, and some brands just launch on Amazon. They don't even, you can't even shop from their website. They just launch straight from Amazon. But it's like it seems like high quality products would be really tough to do through them, right? I mean, you really need to do it through your own domain.
Yeah, you don't like own the information, so it's hard because you can't email that person with like a new product or have like a
Hmm.
two-way conversation. It's obviously such a great platform for a lot of brands. That like if I was to start other things, I would definitely be concentrating on Amazon. But with Listen, it's just always been really hard. I mean, we used to actually have like a great partnership with Amazon, and they were really cool. But they straight up told us like it's pretty impossible to compete in electronics.
Yeah.
Like, and if they're telling you that, then
Yeah, no, I know it's a, like you said, you were so green getting into it, but it's got, I mean, there's just not that many like startup electronic companies that it just, not even in the impact space, just in the general like electronic space. Like you just need so much startup capital, and then I mean, the marketing budgets, I'm sure for anyone who's brave enough to start a electronics company is probably just outrageous.
yeah,
So I'm glad you did it, and I'm glad that you're still a leader in the impact space, and you're taking, I mean, you've taken some sales away at least, right? I mean,
yeah,
full disclosure, I bought probably like four headphones and a speaker, right? So like I would have put that money elsewhere, into a different, so it's like I think that it's hard to do, like you said, but like I think the not giving up and just grinding and having that, this is why I think it's so important to have that, the impact model behind it, because it gives you a little bit more motivation rather than just like looking at sales, looking at spreadsheets, like looking at margins. It's like, damn, but this kid just got a chance to hear for the first time in their life, right? Like that's, it's like, oh, okay, like that's probably, I mean, that's like takes a little bit of all the anxiety away from the other stuff. I
oh,
think it's always a motivational factor that helps the founders keep going.
I would have never done this for this long if there was no philanthropic element to it. Like it's really changed my life in every aspect. Like I don't know. I just can't even imagine not doing it. It's crazy though. It's like we look at all these brands that were super funded around the same time that we started, like Soul Republic or Friends or like just different, you know,
Hmm.
SMS or whatever. Like there was like a million headphone brands that came
Yep.
out at the same time.
Yep.
and they all like got pumped in like with tens of millions of dollars, and then they all went away. And like
Hmm.
we're still here, and we raised just like a very like small fraction of what they had. So it's pretty cool to like look back and be like, wow, we like really weathered the storm and like survived.
Yeah, no, it's impressive. I mean, to have a company even for 8 years, again, like in any sector in general, right, is already a success, you know. And it's a it keep I when I talk to the founders, it's just like, you know, sometimes you have to take a step back and kind of just like, it's hard to do it, but you have to pat yourself on the back a little bit and be like, look, you know, it's what we're doing is like an amazing thing. You know, if we didn't exist, this would not be getting done, right? Like I'm sure, I don't know the numbers, but I imagine that more people, you know, Starkey is doing more, you know, hearing aids and giving more people hearing than they would without listen, right? You know, so I'm sure that they're, you know, I think the global reach of the brand and the company is pretty drastic. And I think that the impact is just it will go on. The really cool thing you could be proud of is like, you know, that impact will last longer than a year. It'll last like a generation, right? And maybe 100 years, just from that one person being able to hear. Their life is now opened up to so many opportunities that they never thought possible, right? So now who knows who they're going to inspire, and they're going to go out and create something. They might create their own company or something like that. So I think it's so hard to measure that aspect of things because we don't know the ripple effects of how impactful that stuff is quite yet. We might, you know, in a few years or from now, we might have some tech that could help us understand that a little more. But just from a human perspective, it seems like that is an insurmountable. I mean, it's just such an impactful thing for, you know, for decades, right? From just that one person.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the part I'm most proud of and I'm most grateful for is just like seeing the ripple effect of, like one kid, if they're like a year old and they had no chance before, like now they can like be like make the most of their life and have like the fullest potential, which like it's just so crazy to think about. Even like the kids that we helped like, 8 years ago, like they're still like benefiting from that. And like they were able to go to school, and it's hard to like see that in the US because we don't really have that sort of stigma around it. But in a lot of places around the world, like, these kids that are in deaf schools or whatever, like they really don't get the opportunities that most people do. And in addition to that, like one of the coolest things has been other people starting businesses because of Listen, and then
Yep.
seeing like the amount of impact that they had.
Hmm.
One of our friends has like a really cool company that plants trees, and like that wasn't even part of his business before. And then once we started Listen, like he added that to the business, and now they've done like millions of trees. It's like
Wow.
so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that company?
It's called Woodchuck.
Woodchuck? What does they do? Let's shout them out a little
They
bit.
make, like really cool like wood, just anything like accessories like journals and like lighters, just like random stuff. But they
Yeah.
also do, like a ton of business with like corporate, like building really cool like installations with wood. Like they have like wood maps and
Oh, that's
basically
too.
anything wood. But they're
Yeah.
very cool.
The last question I have is when you like your friends and family, like I guess when you first decided to quit your job, right, and to sort of do it, what was the reaction from your network around you? Was it positive? Was it, or was it like, you're crazy? Like, what are you doing? You have a great career in a great industry, right? It's like, what are you doing? Are you making a mistake? Or was it positive energy, right? That really helped.
I think it's like a mixture. Yeah. Like all I ever wanted when I was young was to be in the music industry. And like
Right.
that was a dream, like and then like I finally achieved this dream that I had for so long when I was a kid. And then I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna quit. try try to do this random thing that I have no experience in whatsoever. But I would say overall the response was good because people really liked the product and the cause. And if we would have come out with something that was subpar, I think that
Hmm.
people would have definitely had reaction that was not as positive. But we really like right away we were on, you know, like the Today Show and stuff like that. So I think it gave us like some legitimacy, like in, you know, my friends or family's eyes, like, wow, this is actually gonna happen and actually gonna work versus like this is just another one of your crazy ideas. I do tend to have a lot of ideas. I'm like, oh, we should do this, and then like nothing happens. So
I hear you. It's a problem I have as well. It's a really bad problem that I'm working on. I'm trying to work on it.
yeah. Yeah, one of my goals during like COVID is to really like actually work on the ideas that I have and not just have the ideas and have them go away.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know we want to try to do this for a while, and I'm so glad that we could finally do it and finally kind of just chat and discuss about the successes and the hurdles and everything that's taking place. Because I've been, a fan for so long, and I'm so happy to see some of these original, brands still around, right? I think it's great for the sector and for the industry and for future founders around impact and knowing that they can mess with the big boys, so to speak, right? That there's a place in the market for impact products and entrepreneurs who sort of think differently and think from a passion point of view. I think it's a great motivator for future people.
Absolutely. I mean, we always say, like me and my partners always say, like, you know, we're not billionaires like, you know, Apple, for example, but we're like experiential billionaires. We've had better, more interesting experiences than most people have that are like super, super wealthy just because of like the work that we're doing and the philanthropy that we're doing. So I would say, like, to anybody considering starting a business with like a social aspect, like definitely go for it because it'll just improve your life so much.
Amazing. Well, best of luck the rest of this year. Hopefully we can all get through it and still have our sanity a little bit. But obviously, best of luck for the next, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, couple decades. Like I want this to, I want to buy maybe my grandkids or, I want to buy them listen headphones, right? Well, whatever comes out of that. We
Yeah,
don't
the
know. We
implant
don't
in
know
the
what sound will be like then.
it'll just
So
be like implanted in your brain.
yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. It'd be like some type of like audio microchip or something like that. I don't know, but I do think it's a powerful brand that could live for a really long time. So congratulations on everything you and the team have done so far, and again, best of luck in the future.
Thank you.